2025. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here. Here. Here.
Trustee Yasko, could you please lead us in the pledge?
Everybody stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Moving on to approval of the agenda. Any additions, corrections, or deletions to tonight's agenda as drafted? Seeing no changes, I'd entertain a motion to approve said agenda.
So move.
Motion.
Second.
Second by Trustee Alapajanis. Any additional discussion or comment? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to President's Report, I have none. Moving on to reports and questions from trustees and working groups, starting with Trustee Underly.
Just the agenda.
Thank you. Trustee Alapajanis.
Just the agenda.
Trustee Johnson.
We have a new West Dundee resident, Oliver Jack. Congratulations to Tom and Kelsey on their new baby boy.
Who?
Tom Swazinski.
Oh, really? I
Yes.
didn't know. Oh, that's great.
Ponytail too.
Ponytail, yeah. Came out with a ponytail. Congratulations to those two.
Oh, that's great.
Not enough to braid it yet, just a ponytail.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Yuska.
I have nothing.
Trustee Price.
Just the agenda.
Trustee Wilbraham. Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to staff reports. Joe, anything from the team?
Just minimal storm damage over the weekend. Public Works, I think, was out with 2 trees down. Police Department responded to a few calls, but for the most part, we survived and minimal damage, so.
Awesome. Okay,
It looked like further north got hit. I was on
Yeah.
a bike trail and there was like 5 trees down between here and Crystal Lake.
Yeah, Cary, Belvedere, it kind of skirted north of us, so.
yeah.
Yeah, Lake Cook Road in Barrington from Ridge all the way, there's just nothing but down trees.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay, all right, well, thank you, Joe. Moving on to questions from the audience, this is an opportunity for those in attendance to address the board on items that are both on the agenda and not on the agenda. We'll start with item A, items that are on the agenda. Moving on to items that are not on the agenda. Okay, we'll move on. Consent agenda items A through F. Is there a desire by any board member to remove any of the items from tonight's consent agenda? Seeing no changes suggested, I'd entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items A through F.
So move.
Motion.
Second.
Second by Trustee Alapajanis. Any additional discussion or comment? Hearing none. Madam Clerk?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All ayes. Motion carries. Moving on to resolutions and ordinances. Item A, 415 Oregon Avenue, ordinance approving variations from side yard setback et al. Trustee Price, I will yield the floor to you.
Sure. Yeah, the resident wishes to put in a hot tub and a screen.
They already did.
Okay. But they need a variance. They went before planning and zoning. The variance is to allow kind of an encroachment into the side yard was needed because they had an overlaid line that wouldn't, by code, they wouldn't be able to put the hot tub there. So this went through and was unanimously recommended for approval by planning and zoning.
Comments or questions?
Neighbors didn't have any issues, so.
No, in fact, Michael Dewey lives next door and came to support it, actually, and at least delivered a message from the other neighbor saying that they didn't have any issues either, so.
Okay. Trustee Price, you have the floor.
Move to approve an ordinance approving variations from side yard setback regulations for construction of a hardscape patio, hot tub, and privacy screen at 415 Oregon Avenue.
Motion.
Second.
Second by Trustee Yuska. Any additional discussion or comment? Hearing none. Madam Clerk?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carries. Moving on to item B, 3103 Benny Road, ordinance approving a special use permit to allow short-term rentals. Trustee Price.
Yeah, so short-term rentals are allowed by right in the downtown area, not allowed at all for most of our residential, but for the large lots, they are allowed, but it's a special use, so it has to come before us. So anything else.
This is former Bell Estate property, Johnson. Special use requires 3 acres. This lot has over 5. Full distance to that incorporated to the north. County zoning would, if this were been practiced, we want to see how the county treated this use as well, so it's similar to nobody objected. Function, I'm sure, quietly
And if it were to all go south, we always can have the ability to rescind the license, so, yeah.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Trustee Price?
Move to approve an ordinance approving a special use permit to allow short-term rental of 3103 Binney Road, West Dundee.
Motion.
Second.
Second by trustee Huska. Any additional discussion or comment? Hearing none. Madam Clerk?
Aye.
Trustee Huska?
Aye.
Trustee Johnson?
Aye.
Trustee Lapidus?
Aye.
Trustee
Aye.
All ayes, motion carries. Moving on to item C, ordinance amending the 2021 International Fire Code, tightening restrictions for commercial sprinkler system requirements. Trustee Price.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna turn this over to Chief Spiro, but the primary thing that I was concerned about is not too long ago, we had exempted or excluded single-family residential from having to be sprinkled, and so this suggested that they would have to be again, but in another place in our code, they get an exception, so they, even though they're sort of required, there's this, if you do this, this, and this, you get accepted from it, so. So residential, single-family residential would not be required if they followed some other rules.
So what this is Director Mashinsky and I have been working on this with former Fire Marshal Paul to tighten up the restriction on the commercial properties or tighten up the square footage on the commercial properties. Previously, properties under 4,000 square feet did not have to be sprinkled or were exempt. And this ordinance update aligns with Carpentersville's ordinance update, which takes it to 3,000 square feet. And the exemptions that we put in March of 25 for residential, single-family detached will remain in effect, so apply that.
Is this making things more restrictive then?
Correct, so right now, the current code was less than 4,000, but with all the new developments that's on the horizon, that we're bringing that down to 3,000 for our commercial properties to have commercial properties sprinklered, and like I said, aligned with the neighboring community.
Comments or questions? Okay.
I move to approve an amendment to Title V, Chapter 1, Section 1 of the West Dundee Municipal Code for Fire Code.
Motion.
Second.
Second by trustee Huska. Any additional discussion or comment? Hearing none. Madam Clerk?
Trustee Price?
Aye.
Trustee Huska?
Aye.
Trustee Johnson?
Aye.
Trustee Lapidus?
Aye.
Trustee Henry?
Aye.
Trustee Wilbur?
Aye.
All ayes, motion carries. Thank you, Chief. Moving on to item D, resolution authorizing an IGA between West Dundee and Carpentersville for the demolition of Coles. Trustee Enderle.
Okay, we all know we've been trying to work with Carpentersville to demolish this Kohl's store as part of the redevelopment. And we've come to some mutually agreeable terms. So American Demolition provided an estimate in the amount of $478,500. The fence relocation and install will be $13,516, and the engineering costs for HR Green are estimated about $37 total, which Seville will get invoiced for half. So we're splitting the two. Our portion will end up being $482,016. It'll be taken from the TIF fund and previous bond issues. We're gonna enter into the separate change orders later in the program this evening. Carpentersville also wanted an adjustment to the road maintenance based on the elimination of the building, so they'll be putting in reduced by 25% until such time as a permit is issued for their property. So they'll do the snow, ice removal, as well as landscaping for Elm Avenue, Ring Road, and Entrance E. The terms are in effect until a permit is issued for redevelopment of the Kohl's property. Our village attorneys looked it over, made a few changes to the final draft. And staff recommends we approve the draft IGA between West Dundee and Carpentersville for the Coles demolition as presented.
And just as a reminder, we had two options: participate in the demo costs or having to construct a fourth exterior wall at the village's expense.
And either way, it was gonna be about the same amount of money, so.
But we don't have to then demolish that nice wall that we just built.
Okay, comments or questions?
All right, move to adopt a resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement between the Village of West Dundee and the Village of Carpentersville for the Coles demolition is respectfully requested.
Motion,
Second.
second by trustee Price.
Can I ask one question? So we couldn't get them to pay any more than the $450, a larger portion? Because we're picking up the whole bill, right? I get the opportunity costs. We walk away from the opportunity cost of having to build the wall, but I just thought they'd have some skin in the game. It surprised me that we were picking up the entire bill.
I think they knew what the cost of the wall would be and probably saw that as table stakes. As did I, entering this conversation.
And we put $450 on the table to them many months ago about this offer.
Yeah, I just thought they'd pay more, but okay.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Aye.
Trustee Ballmer?
Aye.
Trustee Price?
Aye.
Trustee Elster?
Aye.
Trustee Johnson?
Aye.
Trustee Pojek?
Aye.
All ayes, motion carries.
Okay,
Moving on to item E, resolution authorizing an IGA between Carpentersville and West Dundee for Huntley Road.
Okay, now we're looking for an additional IGA regarding approval with the Village of Carpentersville. Regarding approval of a driveway access permit for the Lennar Hickory Glen development off Huntley Road. Lennar applied for the permit back in October. It's finally ready to go. At issue, Carpentersville believes that if a traffic signal is to be located at this intersection, we should bear more of the responsibility for the cost due to Lennar development being to the south. We've negotiated a percentage of responsibility at this location, 62.5 for us, 37.5 for Carpentersville. We think it's more appropriate to have the traffic signal in other places. They disagree, but if eventually they do it at Tartans Drive and Inlet or a little bit west of there, then they would split it 50-50 with us. They also insist the right-of-way sidewalk be constructed in conjunction with Lennar, and they've designated as our maintenance obligation despite previous resolutions stipulating that we would take care of west of Tartans and theirs is east. No sidewalks exist on the north side of Huntley Road, on the Seaville side anyway. Our position is the right-of-way and sidewalk maintenance will remain with the property owner, in this case, the Lennar HOA for this development. Again, our village attorney has reviewed the final draft and made any appropriate changes. Staff recommends the draft IGA between the villages of West Dundee and Carpentersville be approved as presented.
Comments or questions?
So they made us, or they want us to put in a sidewalk even though they didn't do it.
No,
themselves.
we required the sidewalk as part of the
We would've done it,
development.
yeah.
And the difficulty is, we have no sidewalks on their side of the maintenance jurisdiction, west of Tartans Drive. This is the first sidewalk on our side that is east of Tartans Drive, and this was a condition.
Since the HOA is gonna do it anyway.
Right, it's a property, I mean,
Yeah.
there's one existing at Tartans Crossing already, and so that is the property owner's responsibility. On a long-term basis, it's the village's responsibility to replace or repair, but for maintenance purpose, snow removal, et cetera, that remains with the property owner.
Okay, and then as long as the traffic signal goes in where it probably should go, there's no cost to it. or-
Well,
No,
it's split
we split
50/50,
it.
right?
So, all right.
And we don't know conclusionary where it's going to go yet? That's
No,
up to
and-
IDOT to-
No, it's not IDOT, that's a local jurisdiction roadway. And so my proviso to put in there is that the evaluation needs to take into consideration all of the access points. What I didn't want them was to cherry pick one location and say, the signal should go here. We should take a look at everything from Elm Avenue to Sleepy Hollow to decide where, if and where a traffic signal needs to
We
go.
have to agree on it with them.
Yes, it's part of the proviso, which is in our best interest.
So they can't unilaterally choose location, I think is what you're asking, right?
What if they want it in one location, we want it in another location?
That's why the IDS has to be completed.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Trustee Enderle, you have the floor.
Move to adopt a resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement between the Village of West Dundee and the Village of Carpentersville related to Huntley Road as respectfully requested.
Motion.
Second.
Second by trustee Price. Any additional discussion or comment? Hearing none. Madam Clerk.
Trustee Andrew.
Aye.
Trustee Wilbur.
Aye.
Trustee Price.
Aye.
Trustee Huska.
Aye.
Trustee Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Lapidus.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carries. Moving on to item F, ordinance adopting a lead service line replacement fee. Joe and
Yeah.
Eric, I will defer to you both.
Let me see if I can distill this down so that there's a basic understanding before we get too bogged down in a lot of the nitty gritty and the numbers. There are two basic options that are being presented to the board. Under all circumstances, the Village of West Dundee was proposing to pick up all the entire costs upfront for lead service line replacements based on 3 phases on a 3-year annual program, with the understanding that we were going to get IEPA loan for each phases.
Interest-free loan.
Zero interest, free loan, 3 phases. We received confirmation for phase 1, which is our largest portion, and we received our loan guarantee of $3 million on a $7 million total project. The village was always picking up a substantial portion of all the costs up front, and we were kind of rolling that into the village's loan program. Under that scenario that was presented to the board back in May, we would have incurred a debt service obligation of about $220,000 over the next 30 years. And that was kind of presented to the board in one of the upcoming spreadsheets or updated spreadsheets. At that point in time, we were facing about a $2 million deficit in the sewer and water capital funds only under that scenario, even with the loan program. We got notified that the loan program was not available for years 2 and 3. And so before we started phase 1, the question is being asked to the board whether or not those that are receiving the lead service line replacements should participate in a cost to a certain point for the cost of that replacement. And what we have proposed is a cost of up to a total of $5,000 added to their bi-monthly bill of 27 months, or $27 bi-monthly over the next 30 years. There is a bit of a clarification. The attorney said it had to be paid off in the memo, it had to be paid off if the property was sold. That is not the case. It can live on. What the attorney is suggesting and recommending, which makes sense, is there's some acknowledgement at closing that this fee exists and it's going to carry on. So at least there's an acknowledgement of the obligation upon closing and what it's for. So there's a clear understanding that the buyers are aware of it before that happens. So the other option that the board has is to, now we're faced with the fact that we don't have phase 2 and phase 3 loan obligations. So we are faced with funding that $4 million obligation. Now, the other 2 exhibits that that were sent out earlier today illustrate the lack of the reimbursement for the loan and the contribution amount of $69,000 annually, which is the total amount that we would be receiving on an annual basis from those lead service line replacements for their $27 bi-monthly for the 30-year period. So that would be the annual amount village-wide for all three phases amounts to $70,000. So even under this scenario, that $70,000 isn't even coming close to matching the original debt service amount that we were going to incur of $220,000 on an annual basis. So no matter which option we choose, the community is paying in for lead service line replacement under either scenario. The only question is whether or not a direct payment from the lead service line properties is contributed to meeting the financial obligations for the village. The point I would emphasize is the last two exhibits show that without the loan program, the village is facing about a $5 million deficit in the sewer and water capital funds. And so under either of these scenarios, what it basically shows is that we have to fund upfront that $3 to $4 million to maintain phase 2 and phase 3. So that money has to be found whether or not because none of these sources that we're talking about are going to find the upfront monies to pay for the programs. These are just providing for some mechanism for that accountability and payment towards the program on a long-term basis. So even if we spread it out over the community over the same 30-year period by increasing the capital charge, you still have to find that $4 million over the next 3 years to pay for phase 2 and phase 3.
Joe, of the $7.5 million total project, how much percentage-wise is the village's obligation from Maine to B-Box that would have been paid for by us anyway, correct?
About 55% on average.
So
The village's obligation is 55 on the high side.
if the resident was going to pay their whole percentage of what it costs for the resident, of the 13,000 average estimate, they would be paying 6.5, we would be paying 6.5, correct? And our obligation was always 6.5 times however many houses.
Correct.
Okay, so it's not like the whole thing was the resident's responsibility
No.
to begin with, okay.
So,
That makes sense.
No, and that,
Yeah.
right, I mean, we've taken the high road on this by going to the community and saying, because of the loan program, we're gonna do it all. We're gonna take it from the house to the main, and we're gonna pay for everything.
But my point was, if we said, hey, village residents, we're not paying anything for anybody, we're still on the hook for at least half or 55% of that line for every single affected house, because that's a government mandate on us, and that's our property. We can only then hope to persuade the resident to continue with the other half of the line at their expense, and our obligation is merely from Maine to B-Box, correct?
Correct.
And that would have been a roughly, $4 million cost to the village.
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
the other thing that would be our responsibility would be the continued monitoring.
Yes.
So if they
Well,
don't replace it all the way to the house.
Correct, but I just wanted to be clear that, it's not wholly the responsibility of the resident. We were required to do 55% of that anyway.
Right, but I think the converse of that should be stated. The village has always had the obligation for 50%. We have proposed to pick up the residents'
That's
portion
correct.
of that.
Yep.
so the original amount of the 7 million, the 220,000, right? There was no resident contribution at all to that?
No, because we were basically taking, there was no lead service line contribution towards that.
Where were we, that was just coming out of normal budget?
It would have been built in, it would have been built into the capital formula moving forward.
Okay,
Or sewer and water budget.
Right, for sewer and water,
Okay, sewer.
it's additional capital expense, just like we've anticipated phosphorus improvements and made some changes based on debt service at Forward, you'd have to make some debt service obligation changes for this moving forward.
Okay, so the question that, as I read through all this, the question is whether the two options that were presented was to have the entire village pick up, like $13, right, over the 30-year period, right? Or those impacted to pick up it would be $35 over every 2 months over the 30-year period, right?
But that, and that is the long-term funding for this. But what that dismisses is, under that scenario, you have an obligation to find $4 million to complete phase 2 and phase 3 in the next 2 years.
So that's where I'm going, that's where I want to understand because I read the notification, what's the process? I heard, as I read through this, and maybe I misunderstood, there's an opt-in, you're going to send notices to residents, give them the option to opt in, not opt in, right?
Well, we need a consent agreement to go on their property to complete the improvements. So no matter what we do, we've always needed that. So we need that obligation to do, and that's part of the process. Included in that consent agreement is now going to be acknowledgement, if the board goes this direction, that there's a financial contribution that comes along with these improvements.
Yeah, so that's where, to me, it's gonna get pretty messy in terms of the residents and kind of how they feel. And this is my perspective. So if you're gonna go to them and say, okay, you wanna replace your lead service line, right? I'd be one of the ones that say, yeah, that probably is a good idea. I'd go ahead and get that done. But I know some of my neighbors are like, if you give them give them the option of opting out, they're gonna opt out. and say,
Okay, but they're gonna opt out with a clear understanding that under this scenario, we're gonna do it, and we're gonna do it at 100% of the expense right now, upfront, and you have this obligation to pay this moving forward. If you opt out, this is all on you then.
Well, that's gonna be the message, right? And it's gonna get messy in the fact that they're gonna be like, most people, that's why we gotta be clear on, if you go down this path, right? You gotta be clear to the resident, okay, you can opt out, but long-term, you have no authority you're gonna have to do this at your own expense, right? And if short-term, we need the 4 million to cover it, right? What I'm worried about, you're gonna go to the residents and say, hey, do you wanna participate? My guess is half of them are gonna say, no, I'll push this off as, just because, why would I pay $35 now? I'll just push that off.
Pay 5,000 later?
Yeah, but I'll just pay it
Or
later.
actually 10,000
For
later.
the future owner.
Yeah,
It's
Right.
about 13,000 for a single service line. With the economies of scale of 200 service lines.
Right. If you're doing it on your own,
Because I wouldn't be in a position to be back here and say, hey, we got 15 holdouts, we gotta find a way to get this done. That'll be end of 2027. That number will be every bit of 18.
right.
And then on an.
I'm worried you're gonna get, like the first one, when we replaced the original ones, right? And that was perfect, that was free, right? People, you had a hard time getting everybody to comply with that. This one is you're gonna make them pay more, and what's gonna happen is the residents are just gonna say, hey, I'm gonna do this later, and the
Yeah, but
participation.
I guess I would point out that I believe most residences, once they're aware that they have a lead service line that is providing water to their house, based on all the stories that have been out there for a number of years, are going to jump at the opportunity to have that replaced rather than continue to have their home serviced by a lead service line.
Kathy, you were going to say
We
something?
take a very hard tactic too to prevent that. And the tactic would be, it is an ordinance violation to have a service line with lead. So if you don't, you opt out, in your example.
Yeah.
You will subject yourself to ordinance violations and possible fees. I hate to think that you
Yeah.
have to go in, as Joe said, with that kind of a heavy hand. But you are right.
Yeah, there's probably several ways to do. I also wonder, I mean, there's gonna be continued monitoring that we have to do. And so that costs money. Plus,
That's
they
gonna
have to
cost
let
money.
us.
Yeah, that's gonna cost,
And
that's
who's
gonna
gonna
cost.
pay for that? So
Right.
that's one question. Two is, what if they don't let you in the house? Like, how
That's
do
right.
we comply with that if
Yeah,
they won't
but
even let us in to do
And
it?
and please, I mean, and we had this conversation earlier, I don't want to get hung up on these worst-case scenarios because I believe our community is savvy enough to understand the benefits of having their lead service line replaced and the village fronting the upfront cost, and the vast majority are going to want this to be done and are going to embrace this proposal. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure we're gonna have a few, hardcore holdouts, but my guess was we're gonna have a handful of them, and they're not going to be the majority of them.
And so the heavy-handed or not heavy-handed, we can,
always down the line to see what the result is.
Right, and
If your concern is reality, we can always adopt a heavy line because of the monitoring requirements, et
Yeah.
cetera.
My
but we don't
guess-
have to pull out the big guns until we get
We
the
have to.
nose,
You don't have
right,
to do
yeah.
anything until the end of the program. I think that's, we're stuck with the monitoring until the last service line is gone.
Yeah.
So we're stuck with it till the end of 2027 for phase 3. So we don't really have to, we can talk about it prior to that, but we don't have to make any decisions beforehand. And everyone is just beginning. So now, we're gonna have, I've already heard of a bunch of tactics village have used, from shutting off water to throttling it to make it livable, but I mean, there's already dozens of tactics. But villages aren't having to do this yet, so when the time comes, there's gonna be a lot more village action on the holdout issue that we can.
So the monitoring requirement ceases at the end of 2027, no matter
No,
what?
No.
when the last service line is replaced.
So that could be 2050 and we could still be monitoring potentially, yeah.
That's why we're trying to.
Agreed.
We compress this program to minimize the disruption to the community and the compliance issues. And so we've got a 3-year window that we are going to try and work to replace all 450 lead service lines within the community. But it boils down to 3 questions for the board. One, do you charge the lead service lines residents a direct number? 2, if not, that cost is going to get spread over the balance of the community, all 2,800 accounts. And then 3, how do you fund phase 2 and phase 3, and where does that $4 million come from? So those are really the 3 questions that the board has to answer.
charge the resident.
Okay, but
Well, you guys still got, even if
still
you
got-
charge the residents, you still got to fund the $4 million because that $69,000 is only going to come in incrementally over 30 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you're saying that in July, it was about the $5,000 allocation, this would add approximately $27 monthly charge to the utility
Bi-monthly.
bill, which would end up being about $70,000 annually. And then over the 30 years, it could be used to repay the $3 million loan and provide the village with a revenue stream of over $2 million. They could be used to
Over a
support
30-year period.
water
Over a
and sewer
30-year period.
improvements. So the way that sounds in there, it sounds like the 430 residents that are paying in the $27 are the ones that are gonna be paying all this money. It's all gonna go into a stream of revenue.
No, it's only they're only paying $5,000
Right.
over
but
30
the
years.
way this sounds,
Well, that's why I'm clarifying exactly what, because that was never the case. The question that was posed was, do you charge the lead service line residents $27 bi-monthly over 30 years to contribute $5,000 to the estimated $13,000 cost that the village is incurring upfront?
Gotcha.
And-
I get it, I'm
Okay.
just saying,
Yeah.
if somebody goes back and looks, this is very confusing to them.
It was complicated. I called this morning because I had a lot of questions too, so it,
And then on the little chart,
Mhm.
it has $5,000 private contribution, I'm sorry, I guess I need new glasses. $27, there's a $8 every 2 months public, what is that, non-specific?
That's how you're coming up with the other $8,000 to pay the $13,000 per. So me, as a non-lead service line, I'm contributing $8 a month towards lead service line replacement.
But it doesn't say that. It says a property-specific fee.
Property
$8.
specific is 27.
I know, but in this chart reads $8 every 2 months public. That's,
I let Eric,
Yeah, that's, so what I was trying to say is that it's not like the village has its own money. You know, like we're running fidget spinners and selling them or something, it's all the residents' money. So even when the village says, hey, we're gonna get you for 5, because you own a lead service line, we're gonna give you 8, the whole community's getting that 8.
Everybody's paying the 8, the property specific is paying an additional 5.
27.
Yeah.
So they're paying 27 individually, that's what the agreement would say, but actually, since they're involved on the whole, they're gonna pay 35, that's the individual impact.
right, it's, yeah.
Now, can you talk to me about the obligation of carrying that with your house? Because I know someday when I sell my house, I'm not even gonna remember this discussion on the $5,000.
There's many ways to do it, and that's the technical part. I mean, the way to do it, as Joe said, have an agreement recorded. Record against the property, that's all. And then it is known to whomever buys it that there is this obligation that's outstanding until year whatever.
So is that
Different than an
recording,
HOA fee,
yeah, is that recording on the homeowner or is it on?
the property.
It's on the home, on the property, so.
No,
We
who's
would-
paying the
We
recording?
would record it. The village would be
Oh, yeah,
recording
we
it.
would.
Okay, you would record it.
Yeah,
So then it would come up during a normal, like,
yeah.
Title
that's right.
search.
Title search, yeah.
Right. I mean, yeah, that happens all the time with HOA
HOAs, yeah.
covenants, with all kinds of things. SSAs, we have many SSAs for particular neighborhoods that shows up so that if you sell the property. Now, the other option is, and we don't wanna get into it, but if you're gonna sell your property and somebody says, I don't want that, I'm not gonna buy because of that, we could also allow a prepay. There's all kinds of things we could do to work with people.
yeah, that's where it gets messy in
So
my
we don't,
mind,
yeah,
right?
we don't need to get into that kind of technical, thing,
Right.
but the village, of course, will be willing to work with various problems that'll come up over the years, and they will. It's just always a unique situation.
Can I ask a totally different legal question? Okay. Everybody sitting here that's gonna be voting on this is in the village of West Dundee. Some of us have lead service lines, some of us don't. Is there a conflict if we are affected by this to vote on this?
That's a very good question. Off the cuff, I'd say no, because it's for the general maintenance of the village any more than when you all vote on the maintenance of the street. that-
But it's property specific for a large amount of money.
Yeah.
How many of you are there? I mean, maybe, how many of you are there?
That are impacted, I'm
those are
impacted,
affected.
yeah. too.
Two, so that if you want.
Dan, are you
what I'm
impacted or-
saying is
I'm
that-
not.
Okay,
Neither am I,
Mine's redone.
actually, mine's already done, yeah.
okay.
So, all right, so we have two. So as much as I say to you, that comes up every day of our lives when we, mow the lawn or plow the street.
General taxing, yes, but this
So-
one's a little more tailored towards individual properties.
So for that, so because it would be, we would be able to vote for it without including those, that would be the recommendation.
And I don't care one way or another, I just thought
Yeah.
I'd ask a
I think
conflict of
that's an excellent.
voting question.
Yeah.
The only other question I have is like economies of scale, Eric. So obviously, when you're deploying this, and I'm not an engineer, right? When you're deploying this, if you're opening up a street, right, it makes sense to do the connecting houses at that same time, right? Ideally, right? So if you don't get a high take rate from the residents along the stretch that you're opening up, you're gonna have to probably open up the ground again, right? So it's the cost will go higher than the 13,000.
Well, the cost is gonna go up in phase 3 and phase 2 and phase 3, just because we're doing it in future years.
And no matter what, we have to do it up to the B box.
Right.
Yeah, so the street's getting torn up no matter what.
Right.
Yeah.
But-
That, the EPA has clarified, we do not have the ability for any holdouts to replace just our portion.
All or nothing?
So the EPA has said if they refuse, we don't want you to touch it.
Really?
It's all or nothing. One exception, if you come through and you do a water main specific project, you not
Okay.
only can, but are required to.
Yeah.
Other than that, you don't touch
Oh, wow. That puts the stakes higher on that, the holdouts.
Well,
Because now
that's
they
what I'm
gotta
trying
pay
to
to
ask
cut into the
questions.
street.
I understand that we're emphasizing these holdouts and the concern, but my opinion is we will have a very high take rate because this community and the residents in it are very health conscious, and I don't believe that they in good conscience are going to want their families continue to expose with lead service lines if this option is available.
There are petty tactics if it turns into a major problem
Right.
with the additional cost.
Yeah.
As much as you don't want to, if you're forced to.
Yeah.
I think what Manager Cavallero says is true, and then if the full information is provided to every one of them up front, most of them are gonna take that, but then the other side is, by the way, it's not the state, it's gonna be us, somewhere 3 to 5 years down the line, you may be directed to do this. When we say your cost, it's inflation, lack of economies of scale, it's all of these things that become, it's all on them for probably $20,000 with pavement restoration and stuff, and
Yeah.
I don't.
And even with the long term, if we elect to apply the lead service line fee, the village is still picking up 60% of, we're paying all of it up front. We're picking up 60% of the cost to complete the improvement, and we're telling the resident, you can spread this out over 30 years.
So what's
It's a
the
great
plan to tell them since the.
Well, the board needs to make a decision, one way or the other.
Okay, but the thing said we're gonna start in September and we told everybody that was gonna
I
be
don't
free.
disagree, and that's the catch-22 that we are in because of the fact we were under the impression we have a phase 1 loan that is guaranteed to us, so we were moving forward under that premise. And so we have the funding to do phase 1. I guess the other alternative is you do phase 1 at 100% of the cost, and then we have this conversation about charging phase 2 and phase 3
Yeah, no.
residents.
Well,
And that's why I'm saying, we brought this to your attention because we got this information within the last 45 days that we are not going to be eligible for years 2 and 3's loan. So what do? Do we charge all the residents a small nominal fee over a 30-year period, or do we not charge any of the residents and we work through the capital funding on the organization and figure out how we find $4 million to pay for years 2 and 3?
Are we gonna send out letters
Can I get a
though?
word
Is
in?
it gonna
Nobody-
be news list? Are we emailing people? I mean, how are we gonna let?
We've
them
sent out
Let us
quite
all
a,
talk.
yes, we've sent out quite a bit of information already to the residents on the project.
There's a website established.
Yeah.
There's been 2 high professional mailers that have gone out.
Trustee Yoska, you,
And you.
Trustee Yoska, please.
I brought this up last week, and it simplifies everything and takes away a lot of the ifs if it's spread over the entire community. Then you're not dealing with this $5,000 with this person and this person and this person, and having it go along with the sale of the house and all this stuff. Accounting purposes, it would be much simpler to do it across the whole community.
And
Yeah,
how is it going to be put on your bill? Under capital?
it would be just another capital
See,
expense.
that's the problem. That is not forthcoming.
It's an
It's not-
IEPA.
No, it isn't a definitive lead service, and the people on the other side of town need to know that that's what they're paying for. I'm already getting calls on how high the bills are because, with regards to, we raised the rates, and I know why we did because of the chemicals in that. But it was not pretty, and if we
But it's
just,
a benefit to everybody to
but we need to tell
participate.
them how it's going, where it's
because
going
We
for.
can certainly
There's
include that.
other maintenance obligations that come into play here that might have to be pushed off as a result of funding this. But if it's spread among everybody, we don't have to deal with that.
Right, but then that
5,000.
money's already been possibly allocated before, and if we're spreading this one specific thing, all this money is being allocated
You
for
can
that.
vote however you want. I'm just
I understand, I'm just
saying
saying,
that I think
I
this is the
can-
better
I
way
know
to
that
go
with how-
accounting wise and everything.
I
Right,
agree, and I see
And
that.
if we're gonna do a specific line item, I mean, there's no reason we do, I think we have an IEPA
Yep.
debt service line item under the sewer charge
Right.
currently. I don't know how many line items we have. That'll
have
be,
one-
that'll probably, based on the system,
We
that'll
have
be.
5, because I brought my water bill.
Right, and I just don't know, can we go to 7, can we go to 9? What that line item
So
looks like.
clearly, there's a lot of, I think, interest in this subject, but we do need to make a decision. And forgive me, between last week and today, I think we have all been informed and had adequate discussion. I think it's probably time soon to make a choice. I think we have two options, the property-specific fee, which we've discussed, and we also have the conventional structure. I think, Trustee Eska, you were just describing the conventional structure. So we really have two options ahead of us today. And if it would be all right, I think I would like to at least see if we can get a consensus on one or the other. So Trustee Eska, would you care to make a motion for one or the
Could
other?
I ask one quick question? Just a really quick question.
Please.
And it may already be here, and I'm just got a lot of stuff going. Do we know what the costs are already with regards to what everybody's going to pay? Is it going to be based on this? Based on this? What is going to be the monthly or bi-monthly charge?
If we go with the conventional structure, everyone's bill in the community would go up about $7.50 a month specifically for this replacement.
Okay, so, all right, so about between 13 and 15. So this
Or
is the
forgive me,
actual.
I'm sorry, I bad math, $6.50.
So it's,
Let me,
So the extra dollar.
but it's more than that because we have to, that also make up the 5,000 that's not getting paid by the others. So it's probably
well,
closer
that
to
includes the
7 to
5,000.
Yeah.
It's
Let me
13, yeah.
couch,
Out over
there's a
everybody.
couch to this. And that what is lacking in those numbers is where are we getting the $4 million to pay for it? And more than likely, there's an interest component that's going to come with some type of funding obligation. So that probably gets you 75% of the way there, but there's still, so I don't want to get hard and fast that these are the numbers because we still haven't identified how we're making up that
Right.
$4 million.
So realistically, we are having a discussion or making a decision on the concepts. So we know we have a problem to address. How are we going to address it? Whether we use the property-specific fee structure or we use the conventional structure. Would someone care to make a motion for either?
I can make a motion.
Please.
Do I use this ordinance? or do
Well,
I
if
make
you're
a-
going to do the ordinance, you would motion to adopt the ordinance. And then if you're opposed to the property-specific fee, it would be a no.
You'd vote no, you can't make the motion and vote no. can you?
We can't make a motion to reconfigure the ordinance to use the conventional
If you
structure?
don't approve the ordinance.
I can't-
You're approving the second choice.
Yeah, I can't give you, I would be uncomfortable with that because I'm not exactly sure what that number looks like at this point.
All right, so
And the ordinance doesn't have that in there either.
I will make a motion to adopt what was
Transparency.
proposed, which is the $5,000. 'cause
Okay.
That's what I intend to vote
Okay, we have
for.
a
so.
motion and then Trustee Eska. Did you want to make a
I'm
second?
Understanding this.
I don't think he does because.
Tom is
he
making
doesn't
a
agree.
motion to adopt what is in the packet.
Which is-
That asks each site-specific residence to pay the $5,000 towards the total $13,000. The village pays the rest. That $5,000 is to be paid by that site-specific resident over the course of 30 years. however number that turns out to be per bi-monthly billing.
So if a vote affirming the resolution that was just offered would be in favor of the property-specific fee. If you do not like the property-specific fee idea, you would vote no.
Because what is not included in that ordinance is the portion that is applicable across the board to all the properties.
All right, so we have a standing motion. Is there a second? Going once, going twice,
Second.
second by trustee Wilbrand. All right, with that said, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Aye.
Trustee Estep.
No.
Trustee Johnson.
No.
Trustee Lafayette.
Aye.
Trustee Andrew.
Aye.
Trustee Wilbrand.
Aye.
Okay, 4 ayes, 2 nays, motion carries. All right, Joe, I imagine we'll be talking about funding opportunities in the coming weeks and months, likely in the form of a bond issuance, my presumption.
Very messy.
And then this letter or whatever that has to go.
Yeah, in terms of those assets, Eric, you and your team always do a great job, but I think the board probably would like to see the assets before they go out, if there is additional messaging that's going to be done.
Yeah.
Well, I imagine that'll probably go out with the agreement,
What it,
because we got two agreements we're gonna need to sign. Now,
Does-
the access agreement for construction and then the acknowledgement of that fee.
Would it make sense, I mean, even if we have to hire somebody temporarily?
you're gonna need a communication person.
Yeah, just somebody who could walk door to door and explain this. I've had to do a lot of these types of agreements for my day job in different states, and the door-to-door meeting, I think, makes a lot more sense and is a lot, the efficacy is much greater if there's an individual or a couple of individuals.
430,
But we'd only have to do phase
Yeah.
one for now, right?
Right.
I mean, as far as door to door.
Yeah, I mean, it just, some of these people, it's a pretty significant bill, and they might get it, and they're like, what the hell is this? So I think it makes sense.
Because the urgency is for the phase one folks, is that construction's gonna begin here in a couple of weeks.
So, yeah, one question, so if people like, for example, on my block, right? You come to my door and say, do you want this, right? I don't want lead in my house, I will sign it, right? But I can't guarantee where my neighbors where their heads are gonna be. What happens if 3 or 4 of my neighbors don't want it?
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter?
Doesn't matter.
You proceed into my house if I give you authorization.
Oh, sure, yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah, every property is its own thing, so, yeah.
Okay.
I think,
yeah, I mean, if you want it, we're gonna replace your server.
I think, well, how we will proceed is we will, based on tonight's vote, we will draft up a letter explaining the change between the funding and phase 2 and phase 3, lack of eligibility, and the fact that a small portion of this is being asked to be picked up by the homeowners, and explain exactly what it is, explaining that the village is fronting the entire upfront costs. And we'll put that in a 1-2-pager. We will run it through Z-Graphics, and the board can take a look at it in advance before we send it out. But I think that's the best way to get to those 430 homes and give them a heads up that the financial parameters have changed. And then we will proceed to knock on doors for the individual consent agreements.
The whole, yeah, so I think, you know, the letter say something, call so-and-so if you'd like
Yeah.
more specific information. So they get the opportunity to have the door to by door, but, you know, for the easy yeses, why bother yet?
Yep.
So,
thank you, Eric. All right, moving on to unfinished business item A, First Street traffic safety information only. Trustee Wilbraham.
Well, if you like that topic, here's another one. So First Street traffic, thank you for putting together all the graphics. This is information only, so this is only a take in what was presented here, because decisions will have to be made. I think it's a good thing that school's in session now, so the police department can review stop sign at First and Edwards. We can, and I saw them on First Street, it looks like the white paint indicated where bump outs would be, so the residents can take a look and see what that means in actual geography on the roadway. I guess my question would be to, are we gonna take another round of input after those lines, or where are we with resident concerns after the town hall and all of
I
that?
imagine we will attempt
We've
to
already-
obtain more information.
We've
feedback.
ordered delineators and planning on putting them up. But we're getting to the point where we just have to give the engineers direction if we're gonna keep on an April schedule. So, I mean, the longer we delay engineering the project, the farther we push this out for bidding. We were targeting a January bid letting because we think we get better advantageous numbers.
Why don't we just put up the temps and then we'll grab more feedback in October?
Right, but we
I
can't
like-
design anything up till the board makes a decision on those, so
Fair enough, we'll grab more feedback. Are we doing another survey, checking speeds to see the impact? Are we doing that again?
As of right now, our idea is to do some sort of a camouflaged, no, flashing signs and whatnot. with the
Okay.
Speed trailer, as opposed to the.
$7,000.
Oh, yeah, that's, okay.
One of the things we are looking at is how feasible it would be to get that type of equipment for our own use, so. I would
Okay.
have more.
Okay, awesome.
So there'll be, just the stripes are there, or the striping is there, so these are sort of bendable bollards or whatever that, is that kind of the thinking?
Yep.
To outline it? Okay, so if they get hit, they just flop down. and-
Yeah, I've looked at those they don't look overly intrusive, but I think they may help. I'll be interested when we get the cones up on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get these up. You'll do the traffic speed survey, and then we will conduct another maybe written survey or, tech-based survey to see if residents have any strong opinions on them. And then we'll,
Thanks for putting the chart, who put the charts together? You did?
Chief did.
Okay, so thanks for putting these charts together. They're very helpful. I went through them in detail, and there's pockets you can tell, like where there's the over 36, those are onesies, so it's not like horrible, but there are pockets where there's big numbers of people moving, over 32 to 36 in that range. And I can tell you, just by looking at the time frames, it's like Wednesday, Thursday between 4 and 6. That's a big pocket. The other is Saturday between 11 and 12. So I'd love to work with you to try to figure out a plan during those times, and then with the speed signs as well too.
That's actually part of that memo. That was the idea of this. I haven't been here quite a year yet, so I wanted to give you all an idea of how I make the sausage, I guess, at least in my own brain, when it comes to resource allocation and data-driven proactive police work. And that's at the top of page 2, almost verbatim, the numbers you said, throw in a Monday and a Thursday.
Yeah, I got that too, yeah.
And that's the way I operate, that's the way my brain works, that's the way I've seen through all the years of doing this, that it drives success as opposed to just, well, there's a complaint here, so let's throw an officer down there and move on. So this memo and the charts that I sent along, I could forward to everyone, like one that shows, instead of adjusting the speed to show the graph all the same size, it shows the top speed, so some of the bars are very tiny on a different version of it, so I can forward that out if you'd like. But again, that was just to kind of give a little bit of insight into how we're operating.
I did this without your memo and came with the same answers as you did, so that's good.
Yeah, it's right on the money, and of course, that's not the only time, but
Yeah.
with limited resources, that's where we're starting, and
okay,
with follow-up to see if it's working. Of course,
Okay.
just like the delineators.
So I'd thrown out there, my idea was to do like mock pullovers and lights flashing, all that kind of stuff to give the impression that people are getting ticketed and stuff. And you could take a while to have them pulled over so that there's more cars go by seeing this happening. But then I guess you sort of reminded me that now that takes two people rather than one person.
Do you want me to volunteer for that? Is that what you're saying, Tom?
You could do that too, yeah. We all could, I
Then you
guess.
get a bunch of Scots law violations in the process too, yeah.
But also it became pretty clear if we're gonna post somebody, post them down at this end of the street rather than at the south end. Yeah.
Having said that, after I responded earlier, I thought of it, we're hopefully going to be hiring, 3 new officers that are prior experience, so they go right into field training. That's the kind of thing, based on these numbers, based on the data-driven, we do things for a reason. That's a perfect opportunity to spend a day or two, you're gonna be practicing traffic stops, instead of doing it behind the police station, do it first.
Yeah.
And so that's, just to give you all a little bit of more of an idea of, that's kind of what makes me tick. So we'd be doing exactly that, but again, for a reason, based on numbers that we have to work with.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Thank you, Trustee Wilbrand. I think we have a plan, and we'll revisit this in October. Thank you. All right, moving on to item B, change order number 1, Spring Hill Mall demolition. Trustee Huska.
This was already alluded to during the IGA, so this is just making it official that adding the demolition to the contract with American Demolition, we have to pay the full amount and then we invoice Carpentersville for their portion because the contract is between us and American Demolition.
Correct.
Comments or questions? Trustee Huska, you.
Move to approve change order number 1 to the Spring Hill Mall demolition contract representing an increase of $478,850 to the total project cost.
Motion.
Second.
Second by Trustee Enderle. Any additional discussion or comment? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Trustee Huska?
Aye.
Trustee Johnson?
Aye.
Trustee Clausen?
Aye.
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 All ayes, motion carries. Moving on to item C, addendum number 1 to the professional services agreement with HR Green, Spring Hill Mall demo supervision. Trustee Huska.
Same thing.
This is being split 50/50 with
Right.
Carpentersville.
And
Okay. Comments or questions? Trustee Huska.
I move to approve addendum number 1 to the professional services agreement with HR Green for Spring Hill Mall demolition supervision, representing an increase of $37,160 to the total agreement cost.
Motion.
Second.
Second by Trustee Enderle. Any additional discussion or comment? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Trustee Huska?
Aye.
Trustee Johnson?
Aye.
Trustee Clausen?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Wilbrand?
Aye.
All ayes, motion carries. Thank you, Eric. All right, let's move on to new business item A, a fiscal year 25-26 first quarter financial report through July 31st, 2025. Aye.
The first quarter pretty much came in where we thought it would be. The cash is quite strong and it's where it's expected. And of course, with anything with cash with the financial statements, it's going to be affected by timing. So there could be variances that could be settled maybe in the next quarter as the quarters go by. When you look at the Fund 1 for the general revenues, what's notable probably is the development revenue. The 203 homes in the 2 Lennar subdivisions. There's 115 that we've already received permits. The 88 are going to be received very quickly, and we're hoping for in the next quarter. And they've actually already begun to move into those subdivisions. We're starting to see that. All of the general fund revenues are right on track where we thought they would be, as are the general fund expenses. Those are right on track also. When you look at the sewer and water funds, revenue is down a little bit. And I'm thinking that it has something to do with rainfall. I mean, it has to do with usage.
Well, we've shut off basically almost 2/3 of the community from outside water usage, so that explains some of that also.
Yeah.
And you would think that it would be increased because of the upcoming rate increase, but that we probably won't see until Q2. It has to do with collections, because it's all cash basis. All of these financials are cash basis. When you look at the expenditures for Fund 2, Electricity, we will see an increase because we received notification that ComEd's delivery charge is going to be increased. And also what is not in the financial statements are any bills from Ford, which affects the treatment charges expense and also the debt service. Why we haven't received those, I'm not quite sure. But I have a feeling we're going to receive them all at once, and we'll see them in Q2. Because again, cash basis as opposed to accrual. We only do accrual at year end.
Isn't that what happened before? Isn't that how we got so behind on it?
Yep. But
Yeah.
And Forbes, I think about November, we'll receive the true up once their audit is done, so we'll have a better understanding. Forbes are significant numbers. And
Right.
so we'll keep you updated as to when they come in.
And there's no, I'm just out of curiosity, is there no guidelines for them to have it done in any particular time? I mean, I'm sure, we're,
Invoicing?
yeah.
it's,
Depends on personnel.
we try and invoice on a consistent basis,
Right.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Some of our other
Because it's like a vendor.
neighbors don't.
Okay.
So,
Right, depends on maybe returning goods. I mean, just there's all sorts of things that with
Yeah.
forward that I've got a good rapport with them, but
Yeah,
you can't pay something you haven't.
no, I was just curious, it's like, if I got to be so far behind, it's, and then expect that payment.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, plus it'd be easier on us. We want to see what the numbers come out.
Right.
So, yeah. So that's pretty much Fund 2. The rest of the funds, I've got nothing to note in particular on them.
Okay. Questions?
I've got a couple. I noticed you highlighted development revenue, right?
Yes.
Okay, so is that the $180,000? Because I noticed in your comments you said, revenue it was for Canterfield and future development of Spring Hill Mall, anticipated not budgeted.
Yes.
Do you have any idea what the total you think you're gonna get from it?
we're working on updated numbers for the one-time revenues. I'll have a better, exhibit for you in the next couple weeks.
So that's like upside to the plan, right?
Yeah, but those were never budgeted for in the budget themselves, so they don't fund operations. So they're just gravy from the general fund operational standpoint.
I'll get to the gravy in a minute. I wanna know what we got for gravy.
That's the exhibit I'll give you with the understanding. We've been working on that the last couple weeks. Revenues, expenditures, we bought some new fire radios. 500,000 is going to Wiesman, 200,000 is going to Rec Drive. There's a few things that we've committed those development revenues to. That'll be the exhibit I provide to you.
And the only development revenues would be for Lennar, which are already established. And if we projected as of year end last year, sometimes it could give a push to this year, just depending on timing, when permitting and when we receive the monies, and so.
Anything that's new construction goes into that line item, so it doesn't get commingled
So
with
the 180
operating.
is for Lennar, is that right?
Lennar, Hilo Cobble, there's a couple, Airport Road, there's a couple of new construction, anything that's new construction, what we would consider one time that goes into that line item.
Okay, and it doesn't include at this point any Canterfield or Spring Hill?
No, we have not any, if it's a new construction project, that's where that money would go.
Yeah, I was confused because that's what it said. It said it's anticipated but not budgeted. That's what the terminology
Okay.
is. All right. Fines, right? Fines are up, but that's year over year. That's last year at this time. When did they turn the red light, fix the red light?
That might have been affected by that Q1.
No, I don't, I'm good. I just wanted to point that out. On page 173 of the packet, it says water and sewer increase of 5%. Did you mean 20% on that? Can you check that? Just take that as a note.
Let me check that out.
Yeah, 173 of the packet.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, computer supplies, equipment, those are up. Anything we need to know about there, or no?
No, it's just part of it's computer equipment, and some of it's new, and some of it's replacement.
Okay,
So, there's a little bit of ambiguity there, we kind of analyze it, and there's just some ambiguity there.
okay. I noticed you funded your budget, for your pensions, right? So we're gonna hit the budget amount. It looks like you did that, so it makes it look like we're way over budget on that, but that's just, you're targeting your end of year budget, correct? And
When the
then,
money comes in for real estate taxes from the treasurer,
Yeah.
is exactly when I turn around and I fund those, and I've got the exact numbers when we received the monies from real estate taxes.
Right, so half the pension numbers are currently been received,
Dollar for
basically.
dollar.
Yeah.
okay, all right. So you're still pacing you're not gonna overrun
Nope.
you're pacing to the right.
Well, it's just
It's
based
all
on,
right. It's
revenues
timing.
come,
It's
it's
timing.
timing,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
revenues
it.
come in
That's what it is.
June 1, property tax bills, we receive July and August, and then September, we receive October, November.
Right, that number is established by the actuary in December for the levy for the next year, so we won't run over. It's
Okay.
exactly dollar.
Yeah, that's
for
what
dollar.
I wanna make sure of.
Yeah.
What's 113,000 worth of water meter sales?
That would be Lennar.
That would be for the new construction.
Okay,
We buy the meters and then we sell them back.
okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. And then the infrastructure stuff shows no spending yet. There's 4 projects you guys highlighted. The 1.1 million for streets, 300,000 for Sleepy Hollow, 183 for First Street, and then 205,000-ish for Recreation Drive.
Right.
Are all of those all good? You're still planning on spending against those?
Oh, absolutely. Rec Drive's been completed, just haven't been billed from Lennar for it. First Street, we're waiting to finalize the engineering. Street and Infrastructure Program, I think pre-con meeting was held last week, so that's moving forward. And barricades, yeah, they just started, so we haven't been billed for anything yet. And what was the fourth one?
Sleepy Hollow starts.
Sleepy
after
Hollow,
Labor
same
Day.
thing, yeah, after Labor Day.
After Labor Day, okay. And the fire truck, we've got it, is it in our possession, everything good?
Mhm.
All right, and then Transwestern, what's Transwestern 1.6 million, what is?
That's the payment for the TIF.
Reimbursement.
That's the reimbursement for the $5.6 million TIF incentive to build the Reyes facility and the spec building next to it.
Those are reimbursed to developers only when they pay their entire real estate tax bill, and I can check that out.
75% of the tax bill is remitted back to them until they receive the $5.6 million total.
According to the development agreement.
All right, and then just a list of opportunities when, like you said you were working on, okay? The puts and takes, all the puts and takes.
Yeah, for the capital, yeah, for the one-time revenues, yeah.
That's it.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Kathy. That was a great job. All right, I would entertain a motion to recess from regular session and enter executive session to discuss litigation.